My name is Stacy Lee, and on April 15th, 2025, I died. I still remember the smell of the flowers. It was one of those bright, windless mornings in Charleston, the kind where the air tastes like spring. I had gone out early to pick up some peonies and marigolds for my porch garden. I love flowers. They remind me that beauty is still possible, even after loss. I had just stopped at the second stall when I felt a tingling rise up the back of my neck. I turned my head, and in the same moment, everything went white. I didn't even hear the thunder, just a blinding crack. Then silence. People told me later that lightning struck a pole near the market, and somehow it hit me. They said I dropped like a stone, flower still in my hand. My heart stopped for over 6 minutes. Paramedics rushed in. Someone screamed. My skin turned the color of ash. But I wouldn't have known, because I wasn't there anymore. It was the strangest thing. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel panic. What I felt was peace. 1 second I was falling, and the next I was floating. My body lay motionless on the cobblestone. I watched the crowd gather. A man tried chest compressions. A woman wept and pressed a towel to my face. But I wasn't inside that body anymore. I was above it, weightless, calm, removed. And that's when I realized I was dead. There was no fear, no screaming, no tunnel yet, just awareness. I floated upward until I couldn't see the earth anymore. Then everything shifted. I entered what I can only describe as a living light. It wasn't just brightness. It was music, warmth, and presence. The air shimmered. Everything breathed in rhythm with something holy. I didn't walk. I was carried. And then he appeared. Jesus. Not an image. Not a vision. Not a hunch. I was in front of him. And I knew instantly this was the one I'd been praying to my whole life. This was the King. And he wasn't angry. He wasn't distant. He looked at me with eyes I still can't describe. He didn't speak with his mouth, but I heard him clearly. He said, "Stacy, you are mine." That is enough. I dropped to my knees, only I didn't really have knees. My soul collapsed in worship. The kind of worship where every cell cries, holy. There was no fear in his presence, just truth, mercy, and this overwhelming sense of being known. Jesus walked toward me, and something like a scroll appeared beside him. But it wasn't made of paper. It pulsed like light, like eternity held together. "This," he said, "is what you must see, and what you must share." He unrolled it. I trembled. What I saw, I'm still trying to process. The scroll opened with red. I was standing somewhere high above Europe. I could see cities, Paris, Rome, Berlin lit up below me. Then, without warning, the sky turned. It wasn't sunset. It wasn't pollution. It was like the heavens were bleeding. Deep crimson waves stretched across the atmosphere, swirling and pulsing like something alive. People panicked. Some screamed. Others dropped to their knees. Newscasters called it a solar anomaly. Scientists raced to explain it. But Jesus, beside me, whispered, "They will call it science, but it is a sign." He said it marked a shaking, not of buildings, but of hearts. In the vision, I saw small groups, tiny churches, hidden prayer rooms, monks in mountain chapels, begin to worship with fire. The red sky wasn't just a warning. It was a trumpet to the remnant. Those who had been hidden would now rise. This was the first shaking. Then the vision shifted, and I was standing on the steps of a great cathedral, St. Mark's in Venice. Water was rising. People were filming with phones, trying to laugh it off, calling it climate change. But the tide didn't rise gradually, it surged. Like a judgment, it came without warning. Within minutes, entire buildings were underwater. Gondolas overturned. Museums crumbled. The basilica's golden ceilings collapsed in silence. Then I saw her, a woman no older than me, standing waist-deep in water inside a submerged chapel. She was praying, just praying, not shouting, not posting, just lifting her hands in surrender. And the waters stopped. Jesus said, "What is built without righteousness will collapse in a single day. But intercession can still stay my hand." My chest ached. I realized that prayer isn't just comfort, it's warfare. This was the second shaking. Then came the hardest one. I saw a man rise, not a politician, not a military leader, a spiritual figure. Beautiful, articulate, humble on the surface. His words were sweet, like honey on the lips. He spoke of unity. He preached love. He promised a world without war, without division. Even churches embraced him. But as I looked closer, I saw snakes in his shadow. His smile was empty. His eyes were hollow. Behind the applause was deception. I saw megachurch pastors, cardinals, influencers, all gathering to crown him as a messenger of peace. But Jesus wept. He turned to me and said, "This is the counterfeit. He will emerge in May. He will speak of unity, but deny the cross. He will offer light, but not repentance." And then I saw them, the real believers. A boy on a skateboard with a Bible in his pocket. A woman in a wheelchair speaking truth with boldness. A janitor praying in tongues at midnight. They weren't famous, but they were filled with power. This was the third shaking, the deception of false unity. I thought it was over, but the scroll unrolled one last time. I saw fire fall, not destructive fire, but purifying. I saw ordinary people begin to glow. A barefoot girl on a street corner spoke with thunder. A little boy with Down syndrome laid hands on a stranger and healed him. An old man who had never preached began to declare the gospel with fire. It was revival, but without a stage. There were no lights, no celebrity pastors, no brand names. Just Jesus. "These," he said, "are my beloved. These are my army. These are the ones I will use." And then he turned to me again. "Now you know, but you must return. Tell them, May is the beginning." He touched my forehead. I felt myself falling backward, like slipping through wind. The music faded. The light dimmed. The silence returned. And then I gasped. Nurses screamed. Machines beeped. I was back in my body, weak, tired, changed. They said it was a miracle, but I knew it was a mission. When I awoke in the hospital, the sterile scent of antiseptics filled my nostrils. Beeping monitors and hushed whispers surrounded me. Nurses gasped, and doctors stared in disbelief. I had been clinically dead for over 6 minutes, yet here I was alive. But I was not the same. The visions I received during my near-death experience were etched into my soul. The red skies over Europe, the sinking of Venice, the rise of the false light, and the awakening of the remnant, they were not mere dreams. They were divine revelations. I knew I had to share them. I began by confiding in close friends and family. Some listened with open hearts, while others dismissed my experiences as hallucinations or the ramblings of someone who had been through trauma. "Stacy, maybe it was just a dream," one friend suggested gently. But I knew the truth. The clarity, the emotions, the presence of Jesus, it was all too real to be dismissed. I reached out to local churches, hoping to share my testimony. Some welcomed me, allowing me to speak to small groups. Others were skeptical, unwilling to entertain what they considered to be unverified experiences. Despite the resistance, I persisted. I started documenting everything. Journals filled with descriptions of my visions, emotions, and the messages I received. I created a blog, sharing my experiences with the world. Slowly, people began to reach out. A woman from Texas wrote, "I had a similar vision about the false light. Your words confirm what I've been feeling." A man from Germany shared, "The red skies you described, I saw them in my dreams last night." These connections affirmed my mission. I wasn't alone. Others were receiving similar messages. A global awakening was beginning. As May 2025 approached, I felt an urgency to prepare others. I organized prayer groups, both in person and online. We studied scriptures, prayed fervently, and supported one another. I emphasized the importance of discernment. The false light would be deceptive, appealing, and convincing. Only those grounded in truth would recognize the deception. We prepared not just spiritually, but emotionally and mentally. The events to come would shake the foundations of many, but with faith and unity, we would stand firm. To all who hear this testimony, pray, seek a deeper relationship with Jesus. Let His voice guide you. Discern, not all that glitters is gold. Test every spirit. Unite. Connect with fellow believers. Strength lies in unity. Prepare. Equip yourself with the Word. Be ready for the challenges ahead. My journey from death to life was not just a personal miracle, it was a divine commissioning. The visions I received were not for me alone, but for all who are willing to listen and act. The time is now. The events are unfolding. Will you be among the remnant who stand firm, guided by truth and unwavering faith?